students. Today I will teach the last two sections of the poem Sea Fever, written by John Edward Mesfield, who was born in 1878 and died in 1967. In my previous class, I told you I wish to remind you about your previous knowledge about the poem, that the poet decided to visit the sea or undertake the sea journey again and again. This only brings out the thirst for journey. And I told you also that life is a journey from womb to tomb. It's a greater journey. At the symbolical level, the sea stands for vastness, and the speaker is a man who intends to journey from the finite world to the infinite world. And this is a continuous journey. And this thirst for the journey brings out the sense of intensity in the mind of the poet. Now, come to the second section or second stanza of the poem, in which the poet speaks about his desire once again. I must go down to the seas again for the call of the running tide. Now he gives some reasons why he feels an urge to go to the sea or undertake sea voyage again and again. He was enchanted by the call of the running tide. It is a wide call, and it is a wide call. There is no artificiality in the call of nature. It's a call which is purely natural, and a clear call that may not be denied, and there is no ambiguity in the call. So this unambiguous call, wild call of nature, the poet cannot but respond to this wild call of nature. Sorry. And as I ask, and all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying. The poet wants that his journey should be smooth, should be speedy. That's why he wants and free from all sorts of anxieties. That's why he wants a windy day, so that the ship is thrust, ship is pushed from behind, because there is a saying. And white clouds is opposite to rain-bearing cloud, dark cloud. That means the sea will remain peaceful. So the poet wants to undertake his journey in the peaceful sea, undisturbed sea. In our life also, we want to undertake our journey from our mother's womb to the womb of the earth peacefully. We expect that no untoward incidents, no unpleasant experience should we come across in our life. But life is not a bed of roses. But there is no wrong in the expectation. We must expect. Expectation may not be fulfilled. There may be tempests, there may be turbulence, trials and tribulations in life. Here also the poet expects a peaceful sea to complete his journey. And the flung spray and the blown spume. Flung spray and the blown spume. Spume means foam. The sea is gradually proceeding towards its destination, as a result of which spume produces mean and the seagulls crying. Now the seagulls, Shankhochi, is crying. It is a reference to life, and it is a reference to aspiration. The seagull is flying in the sky. So it is a this is symbolic of the poet's aspiration to undertake this long journey. I must go down to the seas again. You see the repetitions in each stanza brings out the poet's clear, unambiguous intention to undertake the sea voyage to the vagrant gypsy life. This is purely romantic. Vagrant, there is gypsy or sense of wandering is embedded in our life. So the poet also imbued with romantic imagination thinks for a journey like a rover, like a nomad, wandering here and there. There will be no clear-cut specific destination. Just like Robin Hood or Gulliver, they reach to a place they do not know, they did not have any experience of the place before. This is a thrilling experience, and the thrill is inextricably related to our romantic imagination. So the gull's way and the whale's way were the wings like a weighted knife. Seagull's way and the whale, Timmy, Talva, where the wing is like a weighted knife, so cold that it looks like a sharpened knife. The feeling is very painful. And all I ask, again repeats the poet's anaphora. It is called anaphora. And all I ask is a merry yearn. Yearn is story, tale from a laughing fellow. The poet wants to complete his journey, but he does not remain silent or inactive. He wants to be a passive listener. He wants to listen to a story from a fellow lover. And quiet sleep and a sweet dream. This quiet sleep, sweet dream, merry yearn, all these things project the extreme romantic imagination of the poet. The poem is absolutely romantic. The concept of journey is romantic. And the way the poet illustrates his intention clearly indicates that there is a strong romantic fever in his mind to undertake the sea journey, and quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long trip is over. Yet the long trip is over. So till the end of his journey, he wants to see or enjoy the sweet dream. Yet the word trip is curiously used to mean the journey or the sea voyage. So this is how the poem ends. And this, even the ending of the poem gives us a nostalgia, a feeling of nostalgia for the journey, for the wandering life which is embedded in our race memory. We were once upon a time, we were also rovers, hunters, and we enjoyed life full of suspense, anxiety, adventure, and the poems. This poem only reflects all these things in the verse form, in a very romantic manner. Now, come to the comprehension exercises. Open at page number 50. Choose the correct alternative to complete the following sentences. In the book, the poet asks for a shade, the color of which would be blue, grey, black, and white. You know the answer will be white. B. While going down to the sea, the poet wants to hear the crying of seagulls, cuckoos, eagles, swallows. You know the answer? It will be seagulls. C. The wind on the sea is like a weighted sword, X. Knife, spear. It will be knife. Now come to the question number 2. State whether the following statements are true or false and give supporting statements. To steer the ship, the poet needs the moon. You know, it is absolutely false. He needs the sun, the star. So it's false. And all I ask, first line is that, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star. So not a moon. It will be false. The second, B, the call of the sea, call of the running tide is wild and clear. It is for the call of the sea. This line you must mention in support of your answer. The poet is going out to the sea for the first time. It is also false. And you must mention the line, I must go down to the sea again. You must emphasize the word again. Now there are some questions, but before going to the questions, I will acquaint you with some grammatical configurations given in your textbook. It was directed, what a shocking sight. Turn into an assertive sentence. The answer is, it is a very shocking sight. You know the rules. A very will be inserted before the adjective, shocking, and the sentence will be reversed in an assertive form. Unsure of his success is turned into a complex sentence. I am sure that he will succeed. If you are asked to make success verb, this sentence will be the answer. Snigdha is not only wise but also brave. Simple. Besides being wise, Snigdha is also brave. This will be the answer. Now there are writing activities. There is a summary. It is impossible to do summary in this short period, but I would like to remind you certain rules, remind you about some rules of summary. You know, summary will be half of the passage given. If it is 200 words, you will make it 100 words. 10% words will be plus minus, or 110 or 90 or 80. And you will not copy verbatim from the passage, original passage. Just see the passage again and again and write the main theme or Sarangsha. This is the sum. This is the sum and substance of the passage. It is different from places. And in number 6, page number 8, there is a newspaper report on the incident of burglary in a flat in Kolkata using the following points. You are familiar with newspaper reports. In a newspaper report there must be a heading, and a heading will be in the capital word, at least the first letter will be in the capital form. In the next line there will be the date and place, and now you will have to start the report, and the report will be impartial and in the passive form and in the past tense, because the incident happened before. And you are a correspondent from staff reporter or a correspondent. This thing will be written at the beginning, after the heading or at the end of the report. Points are given. You need to elaborate the points systematically with 1 or 2 lines. Remember one thing, that the line or sentence used should be correct. You must maintain the subject-verb agreement rule. And if you maintain all these things, you will definitely score 10 out of 10. If everything is okay. So if you have any questions, send me in the comment box. I have almost completed your, I am going to complete your syllabus. There is only a cat, one piece and a poem called a snail. After that, the textual syllabus will be completed. In this connection, it would not be irrelevant to mention the fact that I have already completed the textual syllabus of class 12 through my digital learning to cater to the convenience of the students. And in this class, I wish to finish the textual syllabus of class 10 in this manner for your examination. Thank you for now. Before ending my lecture, I want to acquaint you with some words, important words and vocabularies. Spume means foam, weighted, sharpened. Seagull, a bird often seen in the seas. Vagrant, wandering. Gypsy, nomad. Yearn, tale. Pillower, a wandering sailor. Quiet, calm, trick, journey. And these things happen to be already, I have already told you in my previous classes. So I don't want to repeat. Thank you for being with me and listening to me carefully. Please follow the next few classes with me, and this will definitely help you in your examination.